You know, there's a scripture that says, choose ye this day whom ye shall serve. I think the speaker needs to answer that question. If he's really saying he's this fundamental practicing Christian, he needs to answer who's he really serving, Christ or Trump, when he's doing the things that he's doing as Speaker of the House.
No sense of irony whatsoever. MSDNC actually uses the Reverend Al Charlatan to talk about a person's faith. He should be co-hosting with Tawana Brawley. Where's Tawana Brawley? Our news media is the most corrupt institution in America. Brilliant idea, the First Amendment, protecting a free and fair press, to hold feet to the fire. If only that were their practice. Joe Biden, the racist. Al Charlatan, the racist. James Clyburn, the time-traveling racist. Trump's words of 2017 inspired Dylan Roof in 2015 because James Clyburn doesn't know the timeline. He doesn't know which year, which event happened. And Jake Tapper doesn't either, so he sits there and nods in agreement. If you get your news from CNN, you get dumber as the day goes on. It's, as Ronald Reagan famously said, it's not that liberals don't know anything, it's just that so much of what they know is wrong. And this is a pretty good example with Jake Tapper, former Democrat Capitol Hill staffer, with James Clyburn, current Democrat Party leadership in the House of Representatives, saying that in 2017, Donald Trump said something that inspired Dylan Roof in 2015. They get dumber with each passing day. Stupider, dumber, more corrupt, honestly. Now, the radical left-wing extremist racists at Politico have a headline, Biden to travel to Mother Emanuel AME in South Carolina. The president's visit to the historic black church, coming 2 days after Harris's visit to the state, which nobody noticed, underscores the campaign effort to bolster support among black voters. Now, why would black people vote for Democrats? Because they're black. Again, party of the Confederacy and the Klan and Jim Crow and the soft bigotry of low expectations, the party of standing in schoolhouse doors, the party that shot Martin Luther King in the head. You know, the assassin was a Democrat Party presidential campaign volunteer. But no, I'm a Democrat. I'm black and I'm a Democrat all the way because that makes sense, right? Yeah. But they got to lock in that black vote. And then they got to lock in that Hispanic. Now, what are the Democrats promising to do for black people that they're not promising to do for white people, Hispanic people, Asian people? What are they promising exactly? Other people's stuff, free stuff? Of course, you know you can't believe them, right? President Joe Biden is headed to Charleston, South Carolina, to visit Mother Emanuel AME Church in the latest signal of a campaign eager to shore up its standing with black voters. Really? That's what it's all about? So you go to a place where Dylan Roof murdered 9 people in 2015. And the Democrats, you know, a lie told once remains a lie told 1,000 times becomes the truth. That's what their guy Joseph Goebbels said. Or, you know, the Reverend Al Sharpton likes to call him Gurgle, I think, because he doesn't know a lot about history, don't know much biology, don't know much about the French he took, because he's the Reverend Al Charlatan. And
did I hear you correctly say that perhaps he was influenced by Gurgle?
Could have been Gurgle, might have been Gurgle. The Politico types on behalf of their party, the Democrat Party, it will be the president's first trip to the storied church since he was vice president. Biden is expected to speak at the church, his campaign told reporters. I thought you weren't supposed to use churches for campaign stops. Oh, that only applies to Republicans. Then the Democrats are shrill and loud. But when they do it, it's real good. And it's about racial division, and it's about erasing their own history, like removing the portraits and the statues from the capital of all the racist Democrats. They still have to rename the Russell Senate office building It needs to be renamed the Revels Senate Office Building for Hiram Revels, the first African-American to serve in Congress, who was obviously a Republican. So his campaign told President, and it's one of the oldest black churches in the South, and the site where 9 parishioners were shot and killed by a white supremacist in 2015. It's now 2024, so that's 9 years ago by the calendar. But because whether it's a white supremacist descending on a historic African-American church in Charlotte or a city of Charlottesville. Now, again, they lie about everything. President Trump said there are good people on both sides. Then he very quickly added, I'm not talking about the racists and the white supremacists who didn't deserve to be condemned completely. They just leave that part out because they're filth, I think is the correct answer. Now, here is an article from 2015, June 20th. It was a Saturday of 2015. Charleston shooting, : they love their colons. Dylan Roof, quote, wanted to target university but couldn't get past security. Well, wait a minute. I thought he was a dedicated racist, white supremacist. And friends said the alleged mass murderer told them he wanted to kill people at the College of Charleston. But that's not a black church. The man accused of massacring 9 people at a church in Charleston intended to target a local university, but could not get past security, friends have claimed. Dylan Roof has been charged with murdering 6 women and 3 men at a Bible study meeting at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church on Wednesday. The story from back then. Investigators have called it a hate crime, suggested the 21-year-old chose to the predominantly black church because of his racism. But wait a minute, how does that make sense if his actual target was a community college nearby, but then he found that there was armed security there, so he called an audible and went someplace else, saw a church that he doubtless knew nothing about, but never mind that. I'm telling you. Also, it goes beyond that, because if you bother to look it up, which our news media doesn't, you would find story after story like this one from BET, Black Entertainment Television, July 21st, one day after the last story I just read from The Independent. July 21st, 2015, Dylan Roof's black friends, : wait a minute, Dylan Roof's, but I thought he was a dedicated racist. This is the headline, BET, Dylan Roof's black friends, he wasn't racist to me. That's the headline. At least one black man who considers Dylan Roof a friend insisted he saw no signs of racial hatred in him in the days leading up to the incident in 2015. And this is BET, and here are pictures of the creepy Dylan Roof sitting here with his friend who's a black guy, and they're old pals. But he was a psycho, among other things. But the Democrats see this as an opportunity to tar all Republicans, and that's what Joe Biden is on his way to do. Pay no attention. Now, honestly, the black friend story was all over the place too. And one of his friends was actually sentenced to more than 2 years in prison as well. And the news media and the Democrats, but I repeat myself, they just turned it into the narrative that they wanted and never looked back. Like James Clyburn is saying that President Trump said something in 2017 that inspired Dylan Roof in 2015. Now, that is mental dwarfism, obviously. Here is Slate Magazine, radical left-wing extremist, anti-American, anti-Republican. Dylan Roof has at least one black friend who denies alleged shooter is racist. And here is the left-wing Slate Magazine with their story, again, going back to June of 2015. At least one black man sees suspected shooter Dylan Roof as a friend and vehemently denies that the 21-year-old accused of killing 9 people at a church is racist. He said, everybody's making him out to be racist, but here I am in front of you today as a black man, and I'm telling you, take a look at him. I look at him no differently today than when I looked at him last week, because he never said anything racist to me, said Kristen Scriven, Scriven, 21 years old, told the BBC, "He never treated me any different," he said, "than he did his white friends." Scriven also talked to the Telegraph, said that not once did he ever say anything racist, even though the two had been drunk plenty of nights. So drunk that he passed out on the side of his car. Okay. Well, there he is. And here's the guy, and he's being interviewed, and he's talking about how Dylan Roof, his buddy, is not a racist. Another guy on The Independent, they say multiple, and BET, Black Entertainment Television, they use the plural. His black friends say he's not racist. And his friends say that he was planning on shooting up a community college, but found armed security there, so ended up at the church instead. But, never let a good lie go to waste. Never let a good crisis go to waste. This is your Democrat Party. I'm telling you, you're a Democrat Party. So that's where Joe Biden is going. He's going to the AME church because 9 years ago, 9 people were murdered there. And now last year, there were single weekends where 11 people were murdered in Chicago. Joe Biden didn't go give a speech there because that's blood on the Democrats' hands. And also this lunatic, he murdered 9 people. The Democrats say, see, it's a Republican. Trump inspired him 2 years after the incident, James Clyburn says. And CNN lets that remain on the record because CNN is not a news organization. Jake Tapper is not a journalist. Jake Tapper is a Democrat apparatchik activist on a cable channel called CNN, which is not a news organization, but a front group for the Democrat Party. All right, let's grab a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Ron. I still have to get to the Secretary of Defense. Now, Donald Trump has weighed in and says that the Secretary of Defense should be fired, should resign. And the White House is lashing out. Probably call him a racist because that's what they do. Secretary of Defense is black. Therefore, any criticism makes the person criticizing a racist. I see how this works. Let's go to Ron, calling from Aldie, Virginia. Ronaldo, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for taking Ronaldo's call. So you need to do your homework, sir. Donald Trump came down the escalator on the June 16th, 2015. Dylan Roof perpetrated his act on June 17th, 2015. So clearly, our good Representative Clymer is 100% correct that Donald Trump unequivocally had to have contributed to Dylan Roof's actions because he had an entire 24 hours to digest all of Trump's fanaticism prior to his action.
The coming down the escalator was so disturbing to Dylan Roof that he had to go first target a community college after staying out late and drinking with his black friends. And then as an alternative target, he went to a nearby church and he murdered 9 people there. And then Donald Trump, 2 years later in 2017, said there are good people on both sides when you're talking about tearing down statues, historical statues in the United States. And somehow that message traveled through time to get into Dylan Roof's ear. Was it really June 15th and June 16th and June 17th? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Just looked it up to confirm. And speaking of the continued lies about Charlottesville, I suck it up from time to time and will go to Urban View on Sirius XM from time to time and try to listen to them. And they still perpetuate the myth routinely on there among other non-factual facts with respect to Trump and the things that he said, the things that he did. It's taking it out of context. I find it incredible how so many times we hear people talk about taking things out of context.
Right.
On the left, talk about taking things out of context when in fact that's what they do more often than not to make the story that they want to tell fit, or the story that they're telling fit their narrative. Yeah,
you bet. And that is that reminds me of Obama administration State Department official Victoria Nuland, who explained that they're using the Russian playbook also known as the Soviet playbook, where they accuse you of doing whatever they know they're about to do as a way of diffusing their actions before they take them. And yeah, they're not liberals. They're the left. This is the left. Ron, fun with dates. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, we just noticed Clyburn this morning. Wait a minute. What Trump said in 2017 inspired Dylan Roof in 2015. Isn't that amazing? Nuh-uh. Thanks, Ron. All right, the amazing vanishing Secretary of Defense. Did he go in for gender reassignment? Is he in an iron lung in the basement of the Pentagon? Who's really running the Defense Department? That's coming up. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Visit chrisplantcruise.com. All right, let's see. Let's take another call. Let's go to Chuck calling from Wisconsin. Chuck, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, thanks for having me. You know, they're going down there to South Carolina to beat the drum about what happened something years ago and try to be friends with black people. Well, when are they going to come and drive up to Wisconsin and go to Waukesha, where the guy in the red SUV on the Christmas parade put 49 people in the hospital and killed 8? When are they going to come up and say I'm sorry for that?
The Democrats don't care about that. That is the wrong racial equation, obviously, Chuck. No, you tell the Christmas parade with the dancing grannies,
They had dancing grandmothers. They were all in their like 60s and 70s, and they ended up the red SUV. They would not announce their narrative. It didn't fit their narrative that it was a black person that was driving it. They just said that it was a red SUV that ran into the dancing grandmothers.
And let me share with you this. Accused killer Waukesha parade driver posted toxic anti-white rhetoric. Darrell Brooks, Jr., 39 years old, a vitriolic rip against white people. And he was furious about George Floyd being killed for, resisting arrest in his latest felony. Killed 6 people, ran over 68 people in the parade, killing 6 of them, including 4 members of the Dancing Grannies. And Darrell Brooks urged readers to take white people the beep out, meaning that should kill white people. Then he attacked. So it's clearly and obviously a racist attack. He wasn't hanging out with his white friends beforehand, drinking up a storm and having a good time. And the Democrats can't use this for political reasons. And the Republicans don't own the news media the way that the Democrats own the news media. So Darrell Brooks murdered 6, ran over 68 people, Christmas parade, anti-white rhetoric and vitriol all over the place. But that just gets swept under the rug because Democrats. Yeah, Saturday was Ashli Babbit Day also, the 3rd anniversary of police officer shooting Ashli Babbit to death. And we've learned more about that because in Washington, everything takes forever, I think a little bit on how Democrats lie using statistics and things as well. Your Democrat Party, extraordinary stuff. All right, let's take another phone call, Michael. Let's go to, I see, as a former police officer from Charleston on the line. Let's go to Jeff calling from Alexandria, Virginia. Jeff, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, former police officer from the city of Charleston. Just a small correction and second point on the Dylan Roof situation.
Uh-huh.
The College of Charleston is actually a university, and they have their own full-time police force. It's not really a security guards or anything.
Uh-huh.
Those guys go to the academy in South Carolina, just like the other police officers in the city and all over South Carolina.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is it's not a gun-free zone like a lot of other places like UTEP was.
Right. Right. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that should be pointed out now that we figured out, that roof guy they're gonna massacre those guys, those kids. Actually, there's like a 10-to-1 female to male ratio.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Now, I know I read, because I read directly from the story, it called it a community college, but you're saying it's not a community college, it's a university.
Oh, no.
Okay.
It was a college for a long time. It's embedded downtown Charleston, and then they went full university, whatever technicalities, different schools in there.
Yeah.
Within that college.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad you called in with that. So, but Dylan Roof, first of all, he's hanging out with his black friends and he's drinking with his black friends. And then he decided he was going to go shoot up this college campus, this university campus. And when he got there, he found, and I said security guards, armed security guards. You're saying it is a campus police force, but they're armed, and it's not a gun-free zone. So when Dylan Roof got to the college campus, he found armed police, and we know that mass killers love gun-free zones, and they don't love places where there are armed officers or armed security. So I appreciate your clarifying these points.
You're welcome.
And then he went to the church, and the church, if I remember correctly, was not far from the university, right?
Right. That's across from the Gaillard parking lot. Yeah, it's about 5 blocks or so.
Oh, okay. That's a walking distance close. All right, so he went to the university, Dylan Roof, and he's hanging out with his black friends, and he's drinking. And his black friends say that he never said anything racist ever. And then he goes to shoot up the university, finds that there are armed police there, and he calls it quits on that and went and found some place where it's a gun-free zone, where there is nobody with guns, and he murdered 9 people. And then the Democrats never let a good crisis go to waste. They saw it as an opportunity to seize on, to go after Republicans, naturally, because that's what the party of the Confederate States of America likes to do, the Democrat Party, right?
Right.
You're no longer a police officer, Jeff, or you've moved to a new location to be a police officer?
I'm up here in Alexandria. Different part of law enforcement.
Okay. But you're still in law enforcement university. And were you there at the time of this incident?
No, I was up here, but I recognized the church. One recollection I have of that church, I met a couple guys out from there in the aftermath of the hurricane, and it had a flat tire because there were nails everywhere, and I ended up right in front of that church with a flat tire, and I remember getting out of the cruiser and just, I kind of let a few cuss words slip, and I think the pastor came out and said, "Son," I had to apologize.
Is that right?
Said, "Oh no, we totally understand."
It shouldn't be cursing up a storm in front of a church. That's great stuff. That's a fun story, Jeff. All right. Well, thank you for those points of clarification. And, the Democrats and Joe Biden and the Democrats and the media, but I repeat myself, continue to use this incident from 9 years ago, 2015, and accusing this obvious mental case who's hanging out with his black friends and then went to the College of Charleston, and that was his target until he realized there were armed police there, and so he went and found some place where people were unarmed, and that church was 4 or 5 blocks away. And the Democrats are still using it. And again, we just had a nice caller from Wisconsin, Jeff, that you may have heard, who's pointing out this lunatic that about 2 years ago ran over the Christmas parade. And it's true. I remember Chuck was saying that the media was saying that a red SUV ran people over, as though it did it by itself, like it's Christine in a scary book and a scary movie. But it was a black racist who was enraged and murdered 6 people and ran over, I think, a total of 68 people and ran over the dancing grannies. But the Democrats, the Democrats can take January 6th, where Ashli Babbit was killed, and turn it into Pearl Harbor, and September 11th rolled into one. the Republicans don't know how to message anything. But if they did, they would use this Waukesha, Wisconsin this incident, as a rebuttal to Joe Biden when it comes to the church in Charleston. These are crazy, crazy times that we're in. Am I right, Jeff?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you actually met my wife who went to College of Charleston years ago. She met you at some kind of party.
Is that right? No kidding. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I went to the Citadel, the military college.
Sure.
And also in Charleston. But just so you know, I know the place in and out. So.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, did your wife and I have a nice time at the party where we met?
Oh, yeah. She had lots of things to say about you. I'll leave that off the air.
Were they mostly good things?
Yeah, they were good things. She was with another friend, a Republican precinct captain over here in Alexandria. They're good friends, and they couldn't wait to meet you and say good things about you.
All right, well, that's good. That's good. I think I remember this, actually, meeting the Alexandria precinct captain, Republican, and making fun of the Democrats in Alexandria and stuff. I do have a memory of that conversation, as a matter of fact. Jeff, thank you very much. I am saluting you. Thank you for being out there on the pointy end. Thanks, Jeff. That's great stuff. All right, now, speaking of Ashli Babbit, the family of Ashli Babbit was shot and killed 3 years ago. Saturday was the anniversary of a U.S. Capitol Police officer shooting and killing Ashli Babbit, an Air Force veteran, 12 years in the Air Force, Afghanistan deployed, and she was protesting, and who knows whether she was waved into the Capitol by U.S. Capitol Police officers or not. But Ashli Babbit was shot and killed by U.S. Capitol Police officer without warning, and, no taser, no pepper spray, no nightstick, no push with the hand. Lieutenant Byrd is the Democrat's name who shot her to death without warning. And Lieutenant Byrd is a hero of the Democrat Party, because when police shoot unarmed women, the Democrats are very happy about it, as long as the unarmed woman voted for Trump and served in the U.S. military, because the Democrats don't like the U.S. military unless it's transgender, and they don't like anybody that voted for Trump. So if a police officer shoots and kills that woman, then like U.S. Capitol Police officer Lieutenant Michael Byrd did, he was in plain clothes that day, by the way, so even if Ashli Babbit could see him. But Lieutenant Michael Byrd, we learned over the weekend that because of a lawsuit now that has been filed, long-awaited tort action from the family of Ashli Babbit, now been filed in Southern California. Babbit was shot and killed January 6th, and her family is seeking $30 million in wrongful death action. Equally important, the lawsuit could force additional answers as to why Capitol Police Lieutenant Michael Byrd shot and killed the unarmed protester as she attempted to climb through a window near the House chamber. Now, this is Jonathan Turley writing the story. He wrote, "I have previously raised concerns over the shooting as conflicting with the governing standards of the use of lethal force. I also noted contradictions in Lieutenant Byrd's own statements and the government's conclusion that it was a justified killing. She was unarmed. She had not assaulted anyone. She may have been guilty of trespassing. The complaint," Jonathan Turley adds to his website, includes a number of things. Ashli Babbit, 35 years old at the time, was an Air Force veteran and a Trump supporter, participated in the riot 3 years ago. She was clearly committing criminal acts of trespass, property damage, and other offenses, Jonathan Turley writes. However, the question is whether an officer is justified in shooting a protester when he admits that he did not see any weapon before discharging his weapon. Just to recap, previously discussed, he said in other columns that he has written, when protesters rushed to the House chamber. Police barricaded the chamber doors. Capitol Police were on both sides, with officers standing directly behind Babbitt. Babbitt and others began to force their way through, and Babbitt started to climb through a broken window. That's when Byrd shot. Now, he shot once. He killed her. Only one shot was fired, and she didn't see it coming. He was in plain clothes. He was on the other side of the window, which is kind of in a door or a wooden frame, and so on. Now, the Democrats, they claim that, I saw even on the local news night before last, they said, like 8 people were killed that day. No, 2 died of natural causes. 1 died of what was apparently an accidental drug overdose in a crowd of hundreds of thousands of people. You have a town of hundreds of thousands of people. There might be a couple of heart attacks in a given day, but never mind that. Now, here's the important part. The complaint has some interesting new facts that were not previously known. For example, it alleges that Babbitt's hands were in plain sight and empty. In plain sight and empty. Empty hands, plain sight. Ashli could not have seen Lieutenant Byrd, who was positioned far to Ashli's left, I think politically too, and on the opposite side of the doors near an opening for the retiring room, a distance of approximately 15 feet, an angle of approximately 160 degrees. Sergeant Timothy Lively, one of the armed officers guarding the lobby doors from the hallway, later told officers investigating the shooting, "I saw him," he said. "There was no way that woman could have seen that." Lieutenant Byrd was not in uniform, did not identify himself as a police officer, or otherwise make his presence known. Now, here's the thing. There were officers in front of her, behind her, and on the sides of her, but she was given no warning and likely did not see Lieutenant Byrd pointing the weapon at her. Now, we learned, because there is now a transcript from a radio transmission coming from Lieutenant Byrd, all right? And it's quite fascinating. Most interesting allegation is, Jonathan Turley says, that Lieutenant Byrd gave a false report about shots fired, right, after he shot Ashli Babbit. At 2:45 p.m., within 1 minute after he shot Ashli Babbit, Lieutenant Byrd made the following radio call: 405B, we got shots fired inside the lobby. Well, there was 1 shot fired, not shots. We got shots fired inside the lobby of the House chamber, he says a second time. Shots, plural, are being fired at us. And we're, he says, stammering, prepared to fire back at them. There had been no shots, not a single shot, not multiple shots, fired at him or anybody else. There was 1 shot fired. He fired it. He is radioing a false report to the U.S. Capitol Police. We have guns drawn, he says, talking about police guns, not nobody else's guns. Please don't leave that end, he said. Don't leave that end. Approximately 35 seconds later, Lieutenant Byrd made another radio call stating 405B, that's his ID, 405B. We got an injured person. I believe that person was shot. In fact, now this is, I believe that person, he shot that person, right? Now, the reality is no shots had been fired at Lieutenant Byrd or at any other police officers, but that's what his radio report said. The only shot fired, single shot, was fired by Lieutenant Byrd at Ashli Babbit. 1 shot and killed her, and he heard a loud noise of the gunshot, saw her fall backward through the window frame. Now, those are false reports by the U.S. Capitol Police lieutenant who shot and killed Ashli Babbit, that he was blasting out on the radio. That might cause U.S. Capitol Police and others to rush the scene with AR-15s or pistols drawn, looking to engage a mob of people shooting at the police. But that wasn't happening. And keep in mind, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats made a hero of Lieutenant Byrd, who is black, Ashli Babbit, who was white, because, the Democrats are happy to have police shoot unarmed women as long as they're American military veterans and don't vote for the Democrats. Now, if you're a crack dealer attacking the police, if you're a wife-beating fugitive crack dealer beating up the police when they come to get you, and the police shoot you, then the cops must be lynched. If you're a career felon in and out of prison, fentanyl coursing through your bloodstream, methamphetamine coursing through your bloodstream, smoking joints and passing counterfeit bills, and the police come to arrest you, and you die of cardio failure, then that police officer is put in jail for more than 20 years and nearly stabbed to death by a Democrat in prison just a few weeks ago, and the Democrats applaud all of that. What is wrong with the mental state of the Democrat Party?
We're told that, Goebbels in The Great Lie. You keep repeating the lie, repeating the lie.
Ah, yes. Joe Biden with his boy, Joey Goebbels. A lie told once remains a lie told 1,000 times becomes the truth. The Democrats live by that Joseph Goebbels edict. That it works for them, though, because they've got Jake Tapper and Jim Sciutto and Chunk Todd and, Democrats everywhere. Not a drop to drink. It is and it's an amazing thing on this. The lawsuit from the family, $30 million, Ashli Babbit. And now, and only now, years later, do we discover that he falsely claimed we got shots fired in the lobby. No, he fired one shot. There are shots being fired at us, he said. That was a lie. And we're prepared to fire back at them. He's the only one that had shot. We're prepared to fire back at them. It's this is it. This is it. He was having a panic attack. He was freaking out. And he shot an unarmed protester. And the Democrats applauded and the news media applauded, but I repeat myself. And it's different being a Democrat, isn't it? Yes, it is. What else didn't get to? I didn't get to Jonathan Caprhart. Do you have Jonathan Caprhart crying on MSNBC because he was talking to a police officer that was there on January 6th?
Officer Fanone, I'm going to try to get through this.
He's going to try to get through this.
Thank you.
You know how they care so deeply about the police while the Democrats are rioting and setting cop cars on fire and attacking police stations and shooting people?